Glance around at things. Oh, match has been found. We'll begin in 5 seconds. All right, here we go. So we're just trying this today. We did run into Omar Little, no big surprise. I'm pretty sure he was already in the stream. Haven't really done a lot with quick match before.
Acceptable location has been identified.
But we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes, you know? Sorry, that was just a moment where it was like, I kind of need that right now, actually. So that's just what we did. We went ahead and took it. All right, let's go ahead. How much exactly iron does this give me a second right now? Let's see, 1 bonus. Yeah, 3 iron a second. I think that's actually enough. We'll go ahead and throw down some steel production. Okay, our scientist has landed. He is gathering up aluminum and iron, or sorry, and steel. So we're not going to worry too much about all that. We'll try and make this work. This is a little bit awkward. Going for the iron and aluminum. Also, sorry, I'm going to be a bit rusty today in general. Because I haven't played in a little while, because I've been out of town, basically. I've been out of town and I've been recovering from being out of town. So we'll just see how it goes, basically, is what we're going to have to do today.
Scientific colony expanded.
We'll just see what we can get done. It's probably, look guys, it's not going to be impressive gameplay today. I'm sorry, that's just the reality of it. I'm in a 1v1 and I threw down robotic because I was like, tiles! So we'll see what happens. And that's the best we can say about it. It's the best we can possibly say about it, is we're going to see what happens. 100% profit from the Pleasure Dome. Not as valuable this game. So I'm actually just going to let that go for 4,000. I don't even care. It's like, fine, whatever. I'm a robot. There's only 2 of us. I'm not all that concerned about it. Power, it's going to be a while before it will possibly be useful, you know? So I'm just choosing not to care. I am kind of making an effort to sell down steel for the time being. Mostly because I know my opponent's going to be trying to sell steel to get his glass purchased and get everything else bought up. So maybe I can keep selling steel for the moment and then just purchase it all back as I need to do things like put down that geotherm plant. I don't really know, guys. It's kind of an awkward thing. We can also just bribe a claim. We can grab a goon squad. Probably the most important thing to go ahead and do. Then we can go ahead and perhaps establish this geotherm. That's going to pop the steel price back up, unfortunately. And we can see our opponent actually sold, Omar sold out of steel pretty heavily in response to that increase in price. Pretty much what you would expect. Thankfully, we're not contributing to his farms, making him any extra money. They're making him plenty because they are early game farms, and early game farms are just good these days. They just are. And his glass was not all that expensive. It's going to be a trick figuring out how to make money this game. There is an electronics surplus followed immediately by an electronics shortage. So that's just left an interesting situation, if nothing else. And we're going to go ahead and take this upgrade.
Beginning construction.
Our geotherm should almost be constructed in just a moment here. We might want to commit 1 more tile to power, and then everything else could go into collecting these other important resources for us to be able to make electronics eventually. Like grab a nice high silicon close to us. Maybe go ahead and grab all the carbon we're going to need. Carbon scrubbing is an option. We've already kind of committed to taking 1 carbon tile, and we could commit to a bit more power. Fairly easily, I think, with just an extra geotherm plant. Now, we sold aluminum as the surplus started because our opponent bought a fair amount of aluminum. It's sitting at that $5 mark, so we'll just go ahead and like keep buying it when it's at $4 for the moment. Just little bits at a time. There we go. Grab a new claim, I think, because claims are good. That lets us more easily go ahead and get all of our carbon flowing in. But I still think what I would like to do with it in the short term. Alright, auction on the map. Not too concerned about that. I didn't even spot these tiles down here. Shoot. This would have been a great spot, actually.
4,000.
So we'll go ahead and take that. Not really using it for much yet. I don't know exactly what building to put out there. And anything I throw out might not even make me enough money to have been worthwhile in the short term. However, However, I think it's still good to go ahead and take the tile for 4,000. It's almost certainly going to make more than a pleasure dome did, right? We could take these water tiles way out in the middle of nowhere. Our opponent has no water income. Another option is to take these close ones. Less water. Oh, there's a water surplus. Never mind. Maybe we just throw down an electronics factory. Maybe we just do that and be like, all right, we're making electronics now. Other option would be constructing something like an engineering lab. Just right back in here. Trying to make decent use of that. I think that could be all right. I think it could be all right. All right. Grab an EMP, even though we are up against a scientific player. And it doesn't look like he's purchased any defense for what he's got going on. I'm trying to decide what would be absolute best to hit him with. We're going to wait till that dust storm is over before we hit him anywhere, frankly. But, man, this geotherm, it feels like everything is taking forever. Maybe it's because I was playing some campaign games on fast just a little while ago. And that was just because I was kind of experimenting with some new stuff that's going on. But, I don't know, guys. It's weird to me. It's weird. So we are going to want to also plan on some chemical production at some point. Maybe even move into it before the electronics, and then use the electronics for kind of a late game style push. He's got some amount of resources saved up, but he used them to expand, so that's fine. Let's see, we could hit his power pretty hard right now, and I think we're going to. Doesn't really stop him from making money right now, but it can kind of help us maybe make more money. You see, we're paying off debt fairly effectively right now, which means our power could make us some money before long, potentially. I'm going to grab an adrenaline boost. It's kind of more of a long-term thing, and I'm really looking for an upgrade at this point because I have fallen behind quite heavily on upgrades. It's just steel does not produce nearly fast enough for robotic these days. I think is a big part of it. There we go.
Complete.
We got it done. We got it done. So, do I go for the chems right away or the electronics? The electronics are the obvious move for good reason, right? And there's a good reason to do the obvious move most of the time. Go ahead and bid a little bit on slant drilling. Not a whole lot, actually. We just want to push it to a reasonable amount. I don't know exactly what is reasonable in this circumstance, but I think he'll go up to at least 18. He might not. That may have been too far, because we don't actually want this all that much, if we're being honest. We would have liked to use it to give our opponent some debt, basically, and that's it. We didn't really want slant drilling all that much. I don't think we get almost any immediate benefit from it. Kinda sucks, but that's okay. We have it just in case we need it in the future, which could be alright. Could be helpful. We are making steel still, so that's something at least. It's making us a decent amount of money. Our opponent has a pleasure dome down, which is making him $162, which is really only making him $1. Right? Like, it's not the end of the world, but it is a bit ridiculous how valuable the pleasure dome seems to be these days. Just sell a little bit there, make sure we've got that going down. Alright, that means that we can probably fairly safely use this adrenaline boost before long. So I'm actually going to throw down 4 chem labs. This is something I don't do often, but I might be able to get away with this game, or at least often these days, I should clarify. Throwing down that much production. However, I think it could work out these days. So as you can see, we're making quite a bit of money from our chem labs, and then we're just going to adrenaline boost these. There we go, all 4 of them. Because he got aggressive on us, we should be making a significant amount of money from that. Look how much money is pouring in from these tiles. For a 1v1, that's pretty serious. And then we're going to grab up a nice power surge, just in case we end up needing it. These chems are making great money, and now we're just looking for an upgrade. We're just looking for an upgrade. Okay, carbon shortage really hurts in a lot of ways, but we can grab more carbon if we need to. Might be a better idea still just to go for that carbon scrubbing. We can see we even have this carbon tile here. I suppose we could actually take that as iron for the moment. That could be helpful. Okay. He stemmed his buildings, so we are going to respond with a little power surge. It did not do a very effective job.
Improving efficiency.
But that's okay. It happens. So a problem is we slammed ourselves up against a wall to kind of get the positioning that we wanted early on. How are these doing? These are almost losing money. almost losing money. Let's upgrade electronics production, and let's go ahead and get that established at this point. Just toss down, say, 4 electronics factories. These will become unfrozen and start making us significant amounts of money fairly soon. These need to be turned off, unfortunately. Maybe what we go ahead and do is grab a goon squad for the electronics factories. We'll bid on that new claim. We can afford 6,000 debt fairly easily. Then I'm going to want a patent lab fairly soon here. 16,000 is what we need for a patent lab, or just a bunch of steel and glass. Been mostly ignoring glass due to the fact that we don't require glass as a robotic player. It's just not something that's necessary for us. 10,000 for a claim I will definitely take. We'll go ahead and throw that at Carbon for the time being. He's also buying up his own stock, which is just fine for us, as I think we've been pressing into the late game a bit more effectively than he has. As you can see, our electronics production is making us pretty solid money. We'll go ahead and invest in that a little bit more right in the moment. Anyways, like I was saying, I think we're invested in the late game a bit better than he is, and he's just kind of pushing the game later by doing something like buying his own stock. So that's just fine for us. Go ahead and get this patent lab down. Kim still would not make any amount of money whatsoever, but I'm not going to scrap them just yet, because we are planning on consuming a fairly large number of chemicals. See, we're upgrading electronics quite seriously right now. And we have a patent lab down. So both of those things combined tell me that it's probably a good idea not to scrap out of chems right away. Something I haven't really checked up to this point is Offworlds, and Offworlds look pretty good this game. I will go ahead and start buying myself up. Get at least half of myself secured. I think I'm making better money than he is in the moment. I do want to keep using this black market, however. Let's go ahead and grab what? Maybe an EMP on something could be pretty good, like right about here. Could be a pretty solid EMP, I think. Chem labs are still pretty bad. Electronics is still fine. Let's go ahead and get carbon scrubbing started immediately. Buy into our opponent's stock a little bit because it's pretty darn cheap. Buy a little more into our own stock. I want to get like half of our stock secured, then go for half of his stock is kind of what I'm looking at. Got hit by a mutiny. 30 seconds until we can do anything about that, unfortunately. But not the end of the world. Not the end of the world. Electronics is still going strong. Steel is not so hot these days. Iron's pretty expensive, and this massive power cost attached to steel is actually costing us a lot of money. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is transition all of these into solar panels because silicon is pretty cheap. And I think that's just the right idea for now. All this time, I would love to push to an off-world, but we've been forced into this stock race. And so we will do the stock race for the time being, basically. And we are going to go ahead and grab that back. No more superconductor for him. Interesting that I was able to see that he was going for superconductor. That is interesting to me. We'll go ahead and bid a little bit on the geotherm. Power's pretty valuable right now. Our opponent also has a lot of debt, so he's not going to have an easy time grabbing that geotherm away from us, so that's just fine. Turn the chems back off. Electronics production is almost completely researched at this point. Let's see. Power production might actually be a pretty strong idea right now. And we're, of course, going to keep buying our opponent's stock. We will not be able to keep him from acquiring superconductor at this point. We have no tools that we can use to stop it from happening, unfortunately. That's just the situation we're in right now. So we got about half of our own stock, half of our opponent's stock. The question is, do we keep committing into stock for the time being? Or do we send our cash somewhere else immediately? Okay, he's not researching anything anymore. Good to know about. The other thing we could really do is go ahead and press for this off-world. That's the other option we have in cash.
The black market is online.
Gonna go ahead and take that back because I still would like that carbon scrubbing. All of our resources are kind of dependent on us having it right now, and so I would love to go ahead and finish it on up. And then maybe this last claim I've been saving for an off-world, but instead I'm going to commit it to water, and then maybe Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and commit it to water instead of an Offworld and just push for the kill, because I think this game is just about over. As you can see, we are making massive amounts of money from all this power we have around. Like 700 per tile, and we've got 6 tiles committed to just power. I just missed winning the game because I'm busy talking, but that's going to go ahead and do it. Nice little 1v1 for warm-up. Alright, I haven't been paying any attention whatsoever to chat. I will fix that after we've gone over the game just a little bit. So that was fairly straightforward. You can see what won me the game very easily was mostly power. Excuse me. Electronics can't be discounted. And I think it was actually pretty similar amounts of money made between electronics and power once you count in kind of all of the auto purchasing and the acquiring of carbon, because the carbon acquired, a lot of that was going to electronics. Some of it was over to chemicals, which we did manage to make a little money on before they just completely fell off the map. And if the game had gone on longer, all of those long-term investments would have paid off better and better and better and better and better as time went on, right? Because that was the advantage. We managed to keep ourselves in a nice, strong spot with the black market and make these long-term commitments with the patent lab and the engineering lab. We had carbon scrubbing just right at the end of the game. We could have turned these back on. Don't know how much money they would have been making, but it would have been some, and it would have also heavily increased the amount of money being made from our electronics production, not consuming all that carbon. So can't discount the electronics, all things told, but power was really the name of the game for a long time. Kind of a nice thing about not having a lot of debt right at the start. Something interesting to consider. We can even maybe take a look. We've got buildings here, and it's got entertainment. This is still like the most ridiculous screen in the world to me. Entertainment. How much did each building make off of entertainment? I don't know. Was it the Pleasure Dome? Then the value was 0. It's just a ridiculous screen, in my opinion. But we can check Omar Little. We can see he only made $33,000 off that Pleasure Dome. He spent some amount of debt on getting virtual reality. I think it was just like $4,000 or something. But still, he spent $4,000 on that, and then a significant amount of the time, I do not believe it considers the power cost relative to the Pleasure Dome. And power was so expensive, the Pleasure Dome, we were kind of accurate in our opinion that the Pleasure Dome was not going to be a strong tool this game, because it's a lot easier to maintain a high power cost in just a 2-player game unless people really drive it home. And considering we only went into 2 geotherms, it was like just a constant nice little stream of cash while never flooding the market enough that it became an issue. Alright guys, that was a nice little confidence booster for our warm-up today. I'm sure we're going to be moving on to lose some games now, but overall I was happy with that one. Okay, let's go ahead and get